Welcome everyone to this week's NIM community call. Technically, I think I broke my New Year's resolution last week because I had a technical issue with my machine, which hopefully is now fixed and it's not going to crash. Anyways, anytime I was using my camera, the system had a full crash and I had to restart it. Hopefully that will not happen now. It looks like it's been solved. So that's why there was no community call last week. But this week we have something fun, quote unquote, planned for you. We're going to discuss the ongoing, seemingly global push towards various ways of age verification on the internet and what this means and how it works and what the problem with it is. For that, I have with me Theo, NIM social media manager, and also longtime OG of the NIM community as well. How is it going, Theo?
It's going great. Thanks for having me. Good to see you, everyone, again. It has been a little bit of a while since I've been on the community call, but I'm back. I'm still here. And we're going to talk about fun topics. I heard that we want happy topics.
Happy topics. When it comes to privacy, and privacy-related news and developments, fun is the name of the game, right? Wherever you look, all you see is basically just fun story after fun story. Let's get into this one. Looking forward to it. As always, ladies and gentlemen, big thanks for joining us today. Hopefully you will find this conversation insightful. You can ask your questions in the chat. We're going to pick them up either right there during the call if they are highly relevant, or at the end during the Q&A. So make sure to leave them in chat. If you don't want to compromise your privacy by logging in with your YouTube account to YouTube, then you can also leave your questions on the general channel of the NIM Matrix server. We're also keeping an eye there. Now, with all of that said, I always forget to introduce myself. Now I will do that. I am Sudo, your host, your humble host for today. I'm head of community at NIM. Hopefully you already know me, but if you're new here, warm welcome. So let's jump right in, Theo. So the reason, maybe a bit of background info for our dear viewers. The reason you're on for this call is because you are basically the self-appointed watchdog on the team of the ongoing developments when it comes to age control. How did you pick that up as your main hobby, Theo? Talk to us about that.
Well, I mean, because I'm a father, so I'm used to setting rules. I said, nope, you're not old enough. It's over. No, that's not the reason. It just happened from being really engaging on social media and what are the hot topics. And that's a very hot topic because now the West, much of the West is going the direction of China and Russia as far as like how the internet is for everyday people. And the UK is very quickly going in that direction right now. And that's a big deal. And that's a big change. And there's a lot every day, the speed of everything happening, the legislation and the government's regulations, statements, all this stuff has really accelerated a lot in the past 6 months. So just this year, it's accelerated very quickly. I would say the UK, so Australia's social media ban already, I think technically started last year, at the end of last year, but really the UK Online Safety Act, which was the start of their age verification, social media ban, whatever you want to call it, started, and that really kicked things off. Other countries thought, hey, we want that. Also, you might have seen us talk about an EU program called Chat Control, which is about scanning chat messages to protect, again, under the guise of to protect children. And that never really got passed. There is something now in the EU about it. I have to check the status. But this kind of all that failing a lot, and then the Online Safety Act just getting pushed through kind of kicked things off. And we have a lot of countries that want to copy and want the same thing. So that's how me just keeping up with current events. Got to keep up with current events.
Yep, and I really appreciate your coverage on the NIM NIM X channel. If anyone is not following us on X yet, then we're gonna drop a link in chat. Please do, because if you want real-time updates about this topic and also many other privacy-related topics and Nim in general, you can do that on X. Now, okay, let me steelman this argument a little bit, okay? Because I think you and I, Theo, will agree, and most viewers and everyone will agree that we can get behind, protecting children. It is like an inevitable truth of the internet that people get exposed to content that they may not be ready to consume. Right? There's all kinds of stuff, whether it's porn, whether it's other things. The internet is the wild, wild west, right? And there's also it's also like an uncontrolled sort of way to get in touch with people, right? You can like join Discord servers and meet all kinds of people, which can also be problematic on the internet, right? So we can get behind protecting children. Now, in that light, since both chat control and the social media bans, the age-controlled sort of social media platforms, the social media bans for people younger than a certain age, are all for protecting children, right? Is that correct? What's the problem then, Theo?
What's the problem?
Do you not want to protect children, Theo? Is that what you're saying?
Of course, I want to protect children. I don't. First of all, okay. So if you I think we should reverse engineer. Let's say that I'm a politician, or I'm a government, or I'm a corporate, and I want these laws, age verification laws. How do I convince people, right? So if you say, and actually, you don't even, at the beginning, in the first instance, you don't even call them age verification laws. You call them, how can I convince everybody that they need to go through a KYC procedure in order to use the internet? That's essential, because that's essentially what's going on. And that means for everybody, not just teenagers. It means for everybody that. And how do I do that? Well, it's going to be really hard to do for the whole internet, because that's kind of like when you go outside your house, the whole world. But you can do it for the roads, the cars, the e-scooters, helicopters, and other things, for example. So in that analogy, you can say, hey, you have to KYC to use the App Store. You have to KYC to use a phone. You have to KYC to use YouTube. You have to KYC to use TikTok. These are all apps. So it could be app level, app store level, or the device level. You have to KYC to use an operating system. This is also a thing that's coming, depending on the operating system and the jurisdiction and so on. So how do you convince people that that's a good thing? And for everyone that doesn't know, KYC is called Know Your Customer. If you're in crypto, you're familiar with it, but you might be familiar with it. But essentially, it's the same procedure you would go through to open a bank account. That being said, let's just use the example of a modern bank account. Like, let's just say like an app like Revolut, or one of these apps that you might know. You have to take your phone, you have to scan your face, you have to show your ID, and the AI does something and checks you, and then it has all of your personal data, essentially. So you have to go through that process to just do things like use Discord or YouTube, or et cetera, et cetera. So that's, how do I convince people that that's a cool thing? Well, I have to go to a low denominator that people can't, or I think people can't disagree with. And protecting children is one of those ones. So you say, okay,
it's the age-old. Think of the kids as the age-old justification for basically anything, right? That's very powerful. Exactly. Everybody agrees, right?
Right, exactly. We need to stop terrorism. We need to stop criminals, and we need to protect children. And the first two, terrorism is played out. We've had that since 2001. Since 9/11, terrorism has been the number one reason to get people to do things. You just say terrorism,
Patriot Act, and all of that stuff.
Terrorism, it's terrorism. No, I'm not going to question that. I'm not a terrorist, right? That's the logic, right? Criminals works here and there, but people are kind of fed up with that too. They're just like, yeah, I don't know, whatever, But protecting kids, now that's the new thing where it's like, okay, let's, you know, and I will say that from my, if you look at the timeline of everything that's going on, you do have, there is a legitimate issue with the internet and children, but we're not going to go too deep into that now. There is a very legitimate issue where parents don't understand how the internet works, not the technical internet. I mean, like, they don't get like influencers, they don't get doom scrolling, they don't understand the effects of this. And we as a society don't totally understand the effects of this because a lot of this is new, right? They're not totally getting that, and they're getting lazy, and they're just kind of like letting things go. And that's just, and then influencers are having a big influence on children, often underage. Now the question is, are age verification laws going to prevent this?
Are they
And what do you
preventing
think,
it, Theo?
because I went on a little bit of a rant, so I want you to interject there.
No. Just go on and explain
I'll
to
go
us.
on. Okay. So
Because actually,
right. So here I'm getting up to the big punchlines coming, right? The big wave is coming. Yeah. So if you say, let's just make a border crossing, show me your passport before you can go online. Show me your ID before you can go online. Well, kids know how to go around that. They just get a VPN. They figure it out. And anyway, the parents are going to be hearing things like, Mom, I want to watch my show on YouTube. Nobody watches TV anymore. They watch.
really? I thought it
I
was a
mean, they
thing.
don't watch. I mean,
I watch
very.
TV every day, Theo.
Okay, yeah.
That was a joke. That was a joke. I don't watch
I
TV.
believe
I haven't had a
you know
TV
what I
for
mean.
a very long time.
Back in the day when I was a kid, you watch TV. You watch your shows on a television channel, and the television was even broadcast or it was from cable. Now you don't do that. You need to have the kids are like, I want to watch my cartoon on YouTube. I want to watch my show. I want to watch sport. I want to watch the World Cup. Who knows? You know what I mean? They're like, oh, I can't do it because I got to get this approved. Can you fix this for me, parent? And the parent will either make it look like they're the one using that app or that phone, so it's in the parent's name, or the parent will put a VPN on that phone and it will get around, or probably in reality, it's a mix of both, depending on the app and the region, the geo-restricted area. You know what I mean? It's probably going to be a combination of both. And so the parents are going to just, in a lot of cases, just do that and say, hey, and so here we are at square one, where they still have access. And even the parents were like, yeah, of course you should have access to that. That's stupid that it's limited. Like, why? This is just annoying for me. I'm just having to do this for my child. The majority of what my child wants to do is watch cat videos and talk to his friends on these apps.
Okay, you know what? Let me play devil's advocate here once again, because I don't want to minimize the problem of social media. Right? We have pretty good evidence, actually. If I remember correctly, Facebook, like Meta themselves, made a few studies internally, which they never actually ended up publishing, and these studies were leaked, where it was pretty like unquestionably and sort of like with a high confidence, it was shown that the effect of social media, especially Instagram, on teens, like mental health, is absolutely atrocious. And we also see, whether it's due to social media or other things, or combination of both, it's very hard to say, but we do see in younger generations, we do see like a major uptick in all kinds of mental health issues. Depression, anxiety, all of that stuff is skyrocketing in younger generations, and we have a pretty strong link between social media use and these issues, right? So
yeah,
I wouldn't want to minimize that.
I don't either. I mean, look,
sorry, go ahead.
Banning social media is not going to make kids go do sports. Banning social media is not going to make kids be more social in real life. Not necessarily. This is a completely, I mean, you can, since it is an addictive thing, we've come to find out that social media, because the business model of social media is to keep you on the app for as much time as possible within some restraints, you can draw a few parallels to drugs. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of strong drugs should just be illegal. But like, let's just say, when you ban alcohol, which is a very strong drug, when you ban marijuana, also it can be a very strong drug. When you ban these things, it even causes more people to use it. You see what I mean? Like, it does not help that situation at all. And so let's even just we can agree that alcohol is a very strong drug. If you edit, almost every time it was made illegal. And the reason it's a good parallel is that it's also a socially acceptable drug. And social media is completely socially acceptable to doom scroll all day. You know what I mean? Like, it's not,
Yep.
Maybe even people will brag about, they're like, oh yeah, I have a parallel, right? So we can use it as a parallel as alcohol. Now, you ban alcohol, people will find a way to get around it. And it's even going to make it more attractive because it's kind of illegal. And that's what I see likely to happen, is that kids are going to get more attuned to using VPNs, using privacy software, or whatever methods exist to get around the bans, whether that's buying fake identities or
fake mustache, right?
They're drawing the mustache here and faking the AI. They're getting really good at faking AIs out.
You gotta respect the game, though. The person who came up with drawing a fake mustache, respect to that kid.
Definitely. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, there's been other kids are getting real creative with that, and that's the road it's really going down. The road, okay, all right, is we can ask ourselves. I also don't have the numbers and I don't know how to do a study, but just ask yourself, is social media use lower in Russia and China among teens? Maybe because of access, but I have a weird feeling no. They just get around it, and maybe they have to use some other platforms, you know what I mean, that are government controlled. But in general, if it's really just about teens using social media less, I don't think it's down in those countries.
Look, there is a I think a meaningful difference here. Let me unpack it, and then we can get on, because we were sort of addressing this issue at the face of it. The official narrative, basically, we were sort of disputing that until now, and maybe we can get to the probable real reasons. But before that, in China, recently, for example, the Chinese Communist Party started seeing gaming as a big problem, and they instituted all kinds of limits on how much young people under a certain age can play video games for. I can't remember the exact details, but you have a daily limit, and then you have a weekly limit, and even the time frame. So until you can't play games until 3 a.m. in the morning. So what we know about China is that, of course, these people get around these as well, right? These restrictions are not ironclad either. People can get around them, but they're pretty good at implementing them. They have a pretty tight control on their population. But the reasons I propose for discussion that the reasons are very different. I believe China more when they say, I want to stop people from gaming this much, as the real reason for them introducing these actions. On the other hand, when it comes to the West, you just basically explained really elaborately how sort of the narrative doesn't really seem to make sense. Right, you can poke holes in it. We're not neither of us is like a huge expert on any of these topics, yet we can poke holes in it all day long, right? But yet it is happening, and what I think is happening in the background is that, like you said, countries like Russia, countries like China have very tight control on the internet, which has become this very fundamental tool that we use for so many things in our lives, right? And we in the West don't have that. We live in very turbulent times, right? We have wars ongoing, and we have possibly even a world war brewing, at least a Cold War. Depending on who you ask, Cold War II is in progress. So these are turbulent times, right? Geopolitically speaking, historically speaking, and there is this major asymmetry between us in the West and countries with tighter control, right, on the internet. So, for example, Russia can and does come to the West and set up a bunch of bot accounts on X and sort of stokes tensions that way, and we have like zero way of controlling that. Like this is becoming a pretty it has been actually for a long time, but now it's becoming even more extreme. It's becoming a major issue, right? So it turned out that I think many of the biggest Black Lives Matter accounts during the 2020 big riots and protests were run by actual Russian bot farms, like the biggest ones on X. Especially those spewing the most extreme, sort of the most divisive sort of language and stuff like that. And the same is true of the biggest NRA, so the gun right activist, sort of the other side of the political spectrum, right? The right wing. The biggest ones were run by bot farms, by Russia, presumably. The same is true of a really big portion of the MAGA movement. Recently, when it was when on X, the account creation country and from which country the account is accessed most from was shown by X. Right now, you can actually view this for all accounts. Turned out that most MAGA accounts are actually not Americans, right? They are run by, from foreign countries. So this is actually, so we live in the world of fifth generational warfare, which is information warfare, which happens on the internet, right? And in the West, structurally, if we don't have any kind of control, this or not nearly as tight of a control as they do in China or Russia, right? This becomes an issue of national security, right? And what I'm so my assumption here, and a lot of people much smarter than I am and much more like well read on this topic than I am, agree with me on this, is that the real reason for this is to sort of move society towards like ID gating the internet at large, right? Like you said, and this is a very important point, to protect children, right? In either case, whether it's chat control or it's social media bans or any of that stuff, you, Theo, also have to provide some kind of ID, or you have to also, like, you're gated from those apps from those apps from using them, right? And you have to provide some kind of ID. So it's sort of sneakily like it's a blanket thing. It's not only for kids, right? So regardless of whether we can get behind protecting children on the internet, this really, I believe that this really is not about that. It's actually about instituting some kind of control on the internet without actually saying that, hey guys, we need to become more like Russia or China here in the West, right? We got so Australia couldn't say that, hey, I actually want us to become more like China. So therefore, I am instituting a ban of social media applications under the age of 16, and conveniently, so for you to prove that you're over 16, you will have to provide some kind of ID. So I think this is what we're moving towards. We are using, again, the least like the smallest common denominator, which everybody will agree with, right? That we got to protect children, and behind it, I think, is like a push towards more control on the internet. What are your thoughts on this? And since you keep a closer eye on the conversation in general, do people agree with me? Am I conspiracy brained? What do you think?
No, I don't think you're conspiracy brain. I mean, I agree with you fundamentally that that's what I said. The West looks at China and Russia and it's like, oh shit, we want that. We should have done that earlier because they have actual control. Now, also, I do want to, it's not about pushing back. It's just to put in context, U.S. has high levels of interference in other countries too, propaganda, information warfare too. It's not just Russia. Russia comes up a lot because they're good at it, but U.S. does it in just as much too. I mean, it's just a matter of the style or where it comes up or whatever. So all the big countries
I kind of
are in information to each other.
let
But
me
like I said at the
let
very
me
beginning,
wait. Let me put a finer
that Russia and
let me put a
China are
finer
protecting their
point on that.
populace from it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the point here, right? Everybody, like, this is warfare, and since geopolitical interests dictate for us to do this, to sort of influence other countries, everybody would do it if they could. The problem here is that, the CIA can go and do like a major influence campaign in China. They will have a very hard time, because there, posts that are sort of like not in line with the official narrative are just like blanket removed from the internet, like seconds after getting
They
posted.
have like no
So
acceptance for that.
exactly.
Yeah.
So that's like this, like the asymmetry in the playing field, right? They can so Russia is very good at this. This is from way back from the Soviet past. The KGB was also like a world renowned in influence operations, right? They have this whole doctrine which is very successful, and they're also, to the best of our knowledge, they're pouring a lot of money into it. And the reason for that is that they can, right? We allow that to happen. Now this against this sorry, go ahead.
No. I mean, I'm just saying, like, I agree with you. Look. I used to watch Russia Today all the time because they are, and I know that it's a propaganda television channel, or I only watch it on YouTube. And I know that they will hire Abby Martin or other people. I don't know if you've seen her. She used to have a show on there, who are very, very critical of the US and bring out like amazing points. And they like do a 1 hour show, and it's like in-depth reporting. I'm like, this is really good. You don't get this anywhere else. It's like really high quality, in-depth reporting. I'm like, they just let her say whatever she wants. They're like, hey, say whatever you want. If it's against US, critical of US, great. Just say. I mean, she's not inciting violence. It's like more really like in-depth, on point stuff, as an example. And there were a few other shows like that. I'd say like between 2000 and maybe 2010, 2013, 14, maybe it started to stop a little bit. I think at Crimea, a lot of people left, actually, to be honest. Like, people were like, okay, that's too much, I'm out. But before Crimea happened, there were a lot more shows on there that were well made, to be honest. You know what I mean? And I'm able to say, oh, I know it's Russia Today. I know it's CNN. I know it's Al Jazeera. They all have their propaganda point, but within that, there can be good shows, and as long as you keep it in your mind, and that's the kind of critical thinking we're going to lose if we do the Chinese style ban. Yes, it's quote protection, but like,
that's such a good point.
We're going to lose our way of, and that's whatever you think of the West now, that's what made it strong, is this critical, being able to have freedom of information, think critically, not be a zombie just working. None of us want that. We want to be able to make up our own minds. Now, should people be more aware of information warfare? Yes, they should. Definitely don't feed the trolls, because they're probably a part of a government operation. Yes, totally agree with that. Amazing. I just don't, all these bans don't necessarily help to that means either. What they do is they just give their responsibility to another person, whether that's a government, whether that's a corporate, to just ban it flat out. And we all know that's not going to work. That's not very critical thinking. That's just going to create a data collection point for the corporates and the Western point of view. By corporates, I mean like Meta or X or someone that's collecting this age verification info. And they're going to do what they do with data. In the end, they're either going to monetize it or they're going to let it get hacked, or both. And the government is then like, oh, well, we're going to fine you, or I don't know. I just don't see it as, I don't know what we wanted to say, but I think we agree information warfare is definitely there in social media. And, we still want, as far as I'm concerned, it's better to have it open. And this is what I don't want. So let me give another analogy, and I think it's a good one for people to understand. So, before the internet, or before the internet was big, an everyday thing, you had the radio waves. But the radio waves are highly regulated. You know, you have to get on FM radio. You have to go through all of this thing, to have that's the main one, right? The highest quality. You can't just get on FM radio. It's like highly regulated to broadcast on FM radio. Same thing for
Exactly.
AM radio. Same thing to broadcast music on radio. You had to have some kind of crazy license. Now there was like CB radio, ham radio. CB radio didn't require a license in US, but it's just for talking. You can't do any music. There's a lot of regulation. FCC is listening to it, making sure things happen. It's crazy. You know what I mean?
Like, imagine being that guy. Imagine being that guy who's tasked with listening to the radio. And
I know, right? What do you just spot check this? This is crazy. Like, it's mostly truckers just talking to each other,
Yeah.
And but so we don't want the internet to get like that, where it's like very, very regulated just to even get access, to get any kind of at least contributing access, and even listening. Imagine if it was like the radio and imagine you have to age verify just to listen to the radio, because there could be some music on there that has is Russian propaganda music. I mean, the themes in that song are detrimental to our values. You see what I mean? We're going in this is what, you see what I mean? It all goes into that direction. It's not about our freedom. It's only about controlling us. That's what that's my TED Talk.
There is so many great points there. I don't even know which one to pick up on.
Okay, let's do some fun stuff. Okay,
I need to respond first. Sorry, I have to respond. I have to respond first because these are actually very important things, and sort of in line with my values. And I would wager that also the NIM teams as a whole. There is this in turbulent times, whether that's, for example, COVID or the current like sort of warlike, very tense geopolitical environment. There is this reflex from governments to control, right? You got to control. You got to control the narrative. You got to control just to control stuff. And in these times, control, I think, is like on an axis with trust in our population. You can either move towards, like, there are two opposite poles of one thing, right? Of two sides of a coin. You can't do both at the same time. So, like you said, I also personally, even if we steelman as much as possible all the arguments, both like child protection and also this like a reason behind that we think is there, to control the internet a bit more. That is not the explicit but the implicit reason for this. Even if we accept all of these things, and even if we accept that these solutions that are being introduced now are the best possible solutions to introduce, even then they will probably not be as effective as just education. I think I disagree with you a little bit on that. The like lack of savvy news consumption is a new phenomenon. I feel like it's an age-old problem. Like if something comes from an authoritative source, right, like on TV or now on the internet with someone with a nice microphone, maybe like nice like a nice video stream, right, that's authoritative. That's like you tend to believe the things that people like that say, and you never really think about, okay, so who's saying this, who's paying that person, what interest they may have to say that, what would someone who disagrees with them say. Let's look that up as well. Let's put these two things and then let's build a worldview like that. This approach is missing, and it has always missed, and this is what misinformation campaigns and like fifth generational warfare is using, right? But the solution to this, in my view, is never going to be control. If you educated people well enough in how this works, and you would teach them proper epistemics, where they can actually, where it's not just like, I read, I believe, but it's always like, I read, where am I reading this? Where is this from? What's the context? What's the other side saying? What may be missing from this? How certain can I be of the factual claims that this article is making? What are the factual claims? How much of it this is framing? What is the framing looking like? All of these questions, like if you develop a habit of asking these questions from yourself, then you're way less susceptible to influence operations, right? And instead of developing that sort of immune system in our populations, which is very important in a 21st century, and I recommend everyone. Maybe I will share after this call a few resources that I've been like reading about this. I recommend everyone developing this immune system, because it's very important to have proper, well-grounded epistemics in this world. Like the way we learn is one of the biggest treasures we have, and we really have to be careful and be very deliberate with that. So the same happened with COVID. Like a bunch of things came out. Like there's a lot of skepticism against like vaccines and stuff like that. That is now sort of proven to be, at least in part, like influence operation from other countries. Like a lot of the anti-vax accounts were also run by bot farms, as we now know. But there was a reason for them, because a lot of the initial communication that you got, especially in the States, like Fauci said, you actually don't need to wear masks, right? And the reason he knew he was lying at that point, and the reason he said this was to save masks because there was a shortage of masks, right? And to save masks for essential workers, right? The people in hospitals and stuff like that. And you see the approach, like this knee-jerk reaction, right? I lie instead of just telling people, because they're adults, they will understand, right? Instead of telling people that, hey, you should wear masks whenever you can, but we're short on masks and these people really need it, so be sparing with your masks, right? That would have probably achieved the same thing if you trust your population, right? And you treat them like adults. They will be like adults, you know. They will sort of understand these things, and they will act as you want without lying to them. And then if you lie to them, you sort of break the trust, right? The same thing is happening with a lot of stuff when there's a crisis. I feel like the knee-jerk reaction from governments is sort of wrong on a lot of levels. I think we should be much more honest with our population. I think everything, not everything, but most things can actually be achieved through education. A lot of that education, you know, it can't just be governments, right? You got to do that education yourself, a lot of it, on an ongoing basis. But education is the ultimate solution to much of these problems, instead of control for the sake of control. So I think that's the crux of this problem, and I just wanted to unpack this because I have a strong. I have, like, this is a big part of my
COVID, so we're on a whole nother topic now. Now we've unpacked the COVID theories. No,
unpack them all.
We're not going to go there. We're not going to go there. It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, no. Yeah, of course. Just because, yes, powers that be, different nations push agendas, and if there's momentum of one social thought, like let's say Black Lives Matters, there's already momentum there, then they can push that, with the momentum. But it doesn't mean that just because that topic was pushed by an external actor, that topic itself is
false or a lie.
You know
Exactly.
what I mean?
Exactly.
And yeah. So, but that just makes sense to push something that already has some organic momentum. That's just how it works in general. And I think that's where we are. And for fun things, we had some kids have tricked the KYC AI by painting the mustache here. That's pretty creative. That is one really good one. Another fun thing is Malaysia came out with a social media ban for under 16s, and like only a few weeks later it went into power. But it's like the most honest social media ban. It says explicitly in the law, if parents bypass the law with a VPN, there is no punishment. So I'm just kind of wondering I don't know what's going on there or whatever, but they basically knew that parents are just going to bypass this, and they wrote it in the law. If parents bypass the law with VPN for their kids, then they're not in trouble. I thought that's a funny thing. Another funny, again, funny depends on how you want to put it. Meta had an ad in the Swiss newspaper that they want to control the age verification, and it's good to have a centralized. I think the ad even says one centralized place for all of your keys. Age verification needs a centralized entity to control it. That's crazy. That's amazing that they are just bold enough to advertise this. Now, it was in the context is that the G7 meeting was happening in Geneva, and so they did a front page ad in English, and the newspaper is usually in French, to get the attention of the people attending the G7 summit. So anyway, those are a few fun highlights besides other creative ways the kids have already gotten around some of the laws.
Yeah. Now, maybe also on the fun or like more positive side of this, the real possible solutions. Okay, NIM did a pilot concept of a COVID passport system, right? Which was based on a technology similar to ZKNIM. I think the proto ZKNIMs, basically, which is zero knowledge technology, right? Mm-hmm. The whole point of these zero knowledge credentials is that you can authoritatively prove certain things without disclosing any other information. Our fundamental approach to proving things these days is that here's as much information as possible about me, and this should actually prove as official and as much, right? I will give you my social security number and my address and a scan of my ID, and that's okay. So it will be hard to fake all of those at the same time. So that must be true, right? This is the approach. But this is very old, technologically speaking. We can actually do with zero knowledge tech. We can also do things like zero knowledge credentials, where I prove with a credential that was issued to me by a party that can issue this credential that I am over 16 without providing any other information about myself. So the whole age verification stuff and the ID gating of the internet is sort of unnecessary if we use technology that already exists in the world. Actually, NIM already has this tech, and we're not the only ones, right? This is tech that already exists. If we would use this instead of ID checks and all the others, then we would actually achieve the same result without all the sides side effects that we don't actually want.
There is an argument to be said, if you used some kind of zero knowledge proof system, that you would still because then you wouldn't have the data collection issues. You would get rid of that angle of the whole thing, where I think that's part of the angle, is to collect data. That could be part of it. I mean, that would still limit some people's freedom, as far as if you just had a hardcore age verification, but it uses ZK proofs. But it would be better because you would have more privacy with it. So who knows? Maybe they will implement something like that. It's just a matter of time. But I'm kind of thinking along the lines that that's not going to happen, because they're exporting the responsibility to corporate, and corporate doesn't have any advantage to develop that. You see what I mean? The incentives are not there, as you would say in crypto. The incentives are just not there in crypto. So I think that's not going to work. We have questions. We're getting.
So can we jump into the questions?
Yeah, but I want to say, I did want to say one more thing. I hope it doesn't open up another bag, but I think it's important. is because I was thinking like, well, what's the internet going to look like in the future? Like, what is this? Like, some people in chat are already addressing it, saying, yeah, I see age verifications coming everywhere. We see the writing on the wall, this kind of thing. Okay, sure. Let's say that that's the truth. Let's say that the West, as we know it, gets stronger control of the internet. Similar, let's just say similar to Russia. China probably won't. They won't be able to do China because it's just like infrastructure wise, it take years and 20, 30, 50 years to do that. So let's just say first, it's more like Russia. There's like weird bans. It's cat and mouse. It's hard to get everywhere, right? But there are like hard regulations, and it's annoying. I think in the future, you're going to see 2 or 3 internets. I mean, now you do have the dark web, but you're going to see like internet. So you have the internet, and then you have like the app internet, which is age verified. So that's anything to do with apps. But there's another internet that maybe you can use with like some kind of operate. Maybe you have to use a certain type of Linux, and then you can browse the internet and use some apps that are not age verified, that are just out there open source. And then there's going to be internet, which is the mesh network, all this stuff coming out with Meshtastic and all these kind of things. And you're going to use, and depending on your city or what the mesh network will look like, but that'll only grow with more restrictions and how easy this technology becomes to use. And I really do think in the future, only like 5 years away, probably, you're going to, everyday life, you're going to be like, okay, for this task, I'm using the mesh network. For this task, I'm using the app, so the gated internet. And for this task, I'm using the open network. And you might need 3 different devices, or maybe there's a way to use 2 in this case. You might need 3 devices, but I'm seeing a future where this is like the everyday life case. And maybe you're on one of them more depending on what your tasks are. And I don't even mean criminal tasks or anything. I just mean like it's more convenient to use the mesh network for these tasks because it's so annoying to do it another way.
Do you have a lot of criminal tasks, Theo?
Oh,
do you dabble in criminal tasks?
No, but I'm just saying, whenever you say this, normies are like, why do you need that, Theo? This is criminal energy. And I'm like, dude, it's not criminal energy. It's like,
that's how I roll.
That's how I roll. Fine.
I'll take that as a compliment.
I'll take that as a compliment. And also, I will also, as far as that point, when people say that, it's not that bad of a comment, because without knowing it, they're understanding the parallel society that is being built. They're just naming it criminal, which is wrong. But they're seeing like, oh, that what you do. They don't also consciously see, but they're like, oh, you just described a parallel, like parallel institutions. You just described parallel institutions. That's weird.
I don't like that. That must be criminal.
No. We need parallel institutions. That's how things go. Anyway, all right, let's do some questions.
Let's jump into the questions. Before that, I will put Kev on the screen. I don't believe I've seen you here, sir. So welcome to the first NIM community call. These happen every Thursday at the same time. So, drop us a subscribe if you liked it, maybe a like, and then see you next week as well. Thanks for being here with us. And now let's jump into the questions. Big thanks for the many great comments I was reading through chat, and also the questions. Thanks everyone for participating. First one is from RimimimJ. The question is, what are your thoughts on parental controls for devices? Do they have to be so restrictive?
I think I'm in favor of this. This is just so you can put parents can put an app on a phone, and you can say the kid only has this much screen time. The following apps are allowed. The following apps are not allowed. Or maybe even you can do, this app is allowed this much screen time. That's great. Parents should do these kind of things.
Yeah, I also sort of agree with. So, who would I be happy to leave this kind of stuff that we spoke about, the government doing all this call, right? I would much rather the parents do this and decide what's okay for them. If they want to be restrictive, and that sort of tickles their fancy, whatever. If they are more, loose parents, then it's their right. It's the problem begins when corporations and governments do this for instead of parents. So for me, as long as it's configurable and the parent gets to decide like what kind of controls they institute, I would prefer that over the government doing this. Let's face it, this is happening, right? This is going to be a narrative forever now. We basically have this now in our shared consciousness that we need to somehow protect kids from the harmful effects of the internet. And probably one of the ways to sort of avoid governments tucking all kinds of extra stuff under this narrative is to give parents, the right tools to exercise parental control. So for me, I think that's a lesser of two evils. I'm not a kid though, so it's easy for me to speak. If my father like banned me from my favorite game, or like gave me 30 minutes or 20 minutes a day my favorite game, I'd be pissed. So yeah. Thanks for the question. Thank you for the question. Next one is also from Rumimim J. They're gonna add age verification to GTA 6. Pre-orders start today.
Well,
all right.
Maybe so. Then you need to get your order in now. I guess is what you would say. They surely will, but I'm surprised that they are, because games like GTA 6 are training the next generation of soldiers, freedom warriors, to go to foreign countries to export democracy.
That's not GTA. That's more like Call of Duty. I think that's the military propaganda. But yeah, look, I mean, okay, same thing here. Basically, for me at least, age verification. Maybe a kid shouldn't be allowed to buy on their own GTA 6. Although, whether they will have the $500 that it will cost, maybe they will not have that much pocket money. So that's maybe price is good enough a tool to keep people away from a game who are young. But now, in all seriousness, age verification. I grew up on GTA. Okay, I was playing GTA 2 and then GTA 3, San Andreas when I was I don't even know, like 10 years old. Okay, I think I turned out okay. You can debate me in the chat, but I think I'm fairly okay. All right. So this kind of gaming hysteria is not something I ever agreed with. There's this like recurring sort of hysteria that games contribute to violence, right? There were many studies done about this. It was never proven to any extent that this is the case, even though they tried a lot of times. So this is not. It doesn't, to the best of our knowledge, it's not true. Whatever. As long as parents can say that, hey, yeah, I'll get GTA 6 for you, I'm okay with it. But yeah, I don't think it should be any game should be age verified. But anyways, it's not our decision. Thanks for the question. Next one is from Rocio. Question: if a hacker breaches that verification database, who protects our children? Great question. Right? Theo, what are your thoughts about this?
I'll do it. I'll protect your children. It's up to me.
What's
I don't
the fee?
think that I can.
How much?
I don't know if I'm up to it, but it's a lot of
children.
How
much, Theo?
It's a lot of children.
A lot of children.
It's a lot of children to protect. But I'll do the job. I mean, someone's got to do it. Got to stand up for the children. That's a very good rhetorical question, and that's the crux of the whole thing. I mean, look, and governments nor corporates have a good track record with holding all this sensitive information in one place. So,
yeah. My answer to this, obviously, nobody. So the data shouldn't be collected in one place in the first place, especially at third parties, which are not usually like regulated well enough, and also have like an underlying incentive to sell the data or use it in some way other than age verification. So I already shared my thoughts on this. Education instead of all of this. That's one thing, and the other thing is if you do age verification, do it with zero knowledge technology, which we already have, right? We already have this technology. We could use it. We could use it for this. Thanks for the question, Rocio. All right. Next one is from Rabib. Thanks for the question. Can anyone verify their age without any official IDs if they don't have any? To my knowledge, yes. And actually, I think the Discord age verification thing, which was very controversial when they introduced it, it works was it Discord or maybe it was TikTok? I can't remember which one, but it was based on like a facial scan, right? They scan your face and basically try to determine based on, like, AI tries to determine based on your features what your age is. This is like hilariously wrong, right? It's hilariously inaccurate, as we know. Someone also left a comment at some point. Let me try to find it. Um, Yeah, here it is from Ray. Excellent comment as always, Ray. Age verification AI is bullshit. I'm 18, but as per Roblox and Meta AI, I'm 13 to 15. Yeah, it's just like, how would you tell reliably, like 100% accuracy based on a photo? It's just not happening.
You have to age yourself a little bit, and maybe like I don't think you should, but if you just like hit yourself a few times,
yeah,
then maybe
fake mustache. Fake mustache is the name of the game, ladies
Halloween,
and gentlemen.
Some Halloween wrinkles. See this guy right here, like do one of these, but like Halloween. It's like, oh, wrinkle. There you go. Hey, 10 years you got there.
Exactly. Thank you for the question, Rabib, and great comment as always, Ray. Next up is also from Rocio. Where's the line between keeping a child safe and invading their basic privacy? I mean, okay, I'll leave this to you because you're a father. I'm not. It's easy for me to speak.
The line is okay. This is just fucked up. What the line? Keeping a child safe and invading their. I mean, there's a lot of things to say here. It depends on what you mean. As far as online, zero knowledge proof would be enough, and it says like parental approval to use this app in the ZK knowledge thing, then that's not invading anyone's privacy. You know what I mean? That's fine. Yeah. But just blanket banning them and then getting them to use a different ID that's not theirs, their parents or someone else's, is not keeping them safe. You know what I mean? So, let parents have to be good parents. And this show is not about teaching parents how to parent. I have a special course on that. Contact me.
So we will leave Theo's personal phone number on Telegram after this call, and if you need child protection services, you can call him. Or if you need education on parenting, he has like a whole thing. It's a lecture
like bodyguard,
series.
Child protection as in bodyguard.
He'll be there. He'll be there all the time in school, all the time. He'll be there.
I'm not gonna go to school. I'll pick them up from school. That's part of the deal, but that's too much. I'm not going in the school. I don't want to deal with the teachers. Okay,
that's fair. That's very fair.
That's not part of my thing. Let the parents deal with the teachers.
Yeah, that's fair.
But,
that's fair.
It's tricky with the. You see how tricky it is even to talk about the whole kid issue. That's why they.
It's very tricky.
That's why they did this lower denomination thing.
Yeah.
And everyone is touched by that, emotionally, and so you're gonna get these. It's just gonna weaken people's opinions. That's just how it is. Anyway.
Yeah. My 2 cents. Although again, I'm not a parent. Theo is, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. But what my parents told me, which I think is true, is that what you learn as a parent is that you can't be a good parent. It's impossible. You can try, you can be your best, but you'll never be like a perfect parent. You'll always mess things up. And the other thing, which I add to this, the way I see it, if I'll ever have kids, parenting is necessarily like privacy invasive, right? If anyone can invade your privacy, it should be your parents, especially when you're young. It doesn't mean that they have to be like authoritarians, who surveil you all the time. That says a lot about the person, the parent, if they want to do that. But you as a parent, you got to be able to see into your kid's life to some extent, right? It's just it's part of the game, and it's part of keeping. It's part of keeping kids safe.
I think in general, it's a very simple concept. In order to promote critical thinking, you need to be more like a shepherd than to be an authoritarian. You do need to have authoritarian at the right time. There is this, there is the framework, but in general, people don't learn unless they fall down themselves and they get themselves up. You just kind of shepherd them along and avoid, prevent the wolves and foxes from coming to eat you. You need to do the big things, but the little things are really good for learning. And that's true for the internet too, I think.
That's very true. That's very true. I'm kind of scared of, whenever I'll be a father, I'm scared of the authoritarian role that you got to play sometimes. I hope I can avoid that, but it's part of the
shepherd. That's my advice, is to be the shepherd. You have to be an authoritarian to be the shepherd, but you still are letting a lot of things go on,
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, apologies, but that's all we had time for. We're bumping up against the end of this call, and we don't want to go over time. I want to respect Theo's time. Big thanks for coming on, friend. This was excellent. Thanks for informing us about this topic on the NIM X, which you should follow. Welcome to all of our new viewers. I see a bunch of new people in chat. Big thanks for joining us today. Hope you enjoyed it. Drop us a like if you did. You can also subscribe to the channel. We come back with one of these every Thursday. This is the NIM community call, and we love to see you here. And of course, the last thing that we have to do today is this little tradition, which is to give you a pull-up. All people who hang out with us here on NIM community calls get a little NFT to commemorate hanging out with us. This NFT today is going to be a funky one. You need to go to the usual place, which is nim.com/go/pull-up. And you need to enter the password "show me your ID," capital S, capital M, capital Y, and capital ID in the same spelling. This will also be dropped in chat. The image, of course, is an homage to Keir Starmer, who resigned, as many of you probably know, not only as the Prime Minister of the UK, but also as the leader of his party. So that turned out well. This brings us to eight Prime Ministers in 10 years, Theo, or is it just 7?
I don't know, but it could be.
I lost count.
A lot.
I'm sending some love towards the UK. I think you guys can use it. I hope things will turn better, going forward. I hope you guys can sort your issues out, because it seems like there are some problems. There are some problems these days. Hopefully you'll enjoy this historic image, and hopefully you enjoyed this historic community call. Big thanks for joining us today, everyone. See you next week, and have a great day, everyone.